Hey everybody, Randy Patterson here again with Boomerocity. As you already know, we love the blues here at Boomerocity. And boy, this is a guy who I've been wanting to interview for a few years now. His name is Popa Chubby. And if you're into blues, I know you've already heard of him, as I have, and have been a fan of his for several years now. And he's got a new album out called Live at G Bluesy's Juke Joint. And it is a great, almost kind of like a greatest hits, but it's a greatest according to Popa Chubby's greatest hits. And there's some great stuff on there. If you've never heard of Popa, then you're going to want this album as a good primer into all of his work, which, by the way, this is his 38th album. Can you believe that? Wonderful guy. I talked to him at his home in New York and just had a wonderful time. It was my first time talking with him, and gosh, what a phenomenal guy. And this guy plays the blues, let me tell you. Raw, gritty, dirty sounding blues, just the way we like it. So you're really going to love this interview. If you do, please share it. Please like this channel. Please tell your friends that the audio of this is on podcasts everywhere. And it's also on the Star Worldwide Network that we just became affiliated with my friend Dave Pratt, who's the president of that network. And he's been a friend of mine for a few years now. And I grew up listening to him as a DJ in Phoenix, Arizona. So please check out his network while you're at it. But ask your friends to check out this interview. And if they like what they hear, ask them to subscribe. So without any further ado, here's my first of what I hope is many more interviews to come with blues great Popa Chubby. Until next time, this is Randy Patterson with Boomerocity. Take care.
Hi there.
Hey there, Popa Chubby.
Hey, man.
How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good, brother. How are you?
I am doing super. I'm thrilled to finally be able to talk to you. I've wanted to talk to you.
Thank you for your time.
Well, thank you for the time. I've wanted to talk to you for years, and it's finally happening. So I'm thrilled.
Forgive me, I'm on jet lag, so I woke up 1 minute before the interview.
Oh, well, okay then. Well, I'll try not to take advantage of you then. So
no, don't worry about it, bro.
Where did you fly in from?
From Geneva.
Oh,
I was in France.
Wow. I was there 1989. I was there for a 2 week. Beautiful place there, man. Beautiful.
Yeah,
place.
I was in the French Alps. It was beautiful. Beautiful festival.
Wow. So, hey, before we get talking about this great album, I just wanted to ask you, how's the post-pandemic world treating you? Are you seeing a lot of changes in crowds and concerts, or what are you seeing out there?
Wow, man, that's a big question. It's all the same and it's all completely different at the same time. People are coming out. There's no, it's like COVID doesn't exist anymore, even though it still does. But it's I got COVID for the first time on my last European tour. No, for the fourth time on my last European tour in May. So,
oh my gosh, wow!
I finished the last 3 shows of the tour with COVID. So,
oh gosh,
it's kind of become a different thing. But everything's different, man. Everything's more difficult now in a lot of ways. Travel is more difficult, but the music, Led Zeppelin put out a record called "The Song Remains the Same." So really, the song remains the same, man.
There you go.
Thank you, my dear. My wife just made me coffee because she knows I can't function without it. I love you, darling.
You just love her for her coffee, don't you?
Oh, my God.
Well, one other thing I wanted to ask you about, you're on a great label now with Gulf Coast Records, Mike Zito and those guys. I wanted to get your thoughts. I just saw Albert Castilla and Gary Hoey last week. Had a great time with them. They did a show here. I'm in the Smoky Mountains. They were playing in Knoxville, which is my backyard. So,
right on.
Wanted to get your thoughts about Mike. I know he just lost his wife last week, which is horrible.
Oh man, what a tragedy.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, I've known Mike for about 20 years, and he is absolutely the sweetest, nicest, most complimentary human being. Mike is a class act. He's the real deal. I mean, I can't say enough about him, man. He's just I love him. I love him dearly. So and I've watched him grow this label from when he started. So it was kind of always in the back of my mind. So when I made this record and I thought about what I was going to do with it, it came to mind. So we spoke about it and decided it would be a good idea. And you know, I know Mike and his whole team. They're like friends and family, and they're just doing a great job. I couldn't be happier.
Good. Well, it's always good to see artists run labels because they get it. They know what the artists want and need, and
Yeah, well, that's the deal,
business.
man.
Yeah.
I've been on a lot of labels. I've been doing this for a long time. I've made 38 records in 35 years.
Dang.
So I've seen a lot of people who didn't get it. And also I started out on Sony. I was on the OK label in the early 90s. So I know what it's like to be on a major label. I just it's nice to be with people who understand the ins and outs.
Understood. So 38 records. You think you're finally getting the hang of it or what?
Yeah, I don't know, man. I tell my wife every night I'm gonna go play guitar for a while and try and get good at it. It's it's the nature of the beast, man. It's like I think if you think you got it, you should just give up.
Yeah.
Because Les Paul had a lot of quotes about that. He used to say the guitar is like, just when you think you got to figure it out, everything changes.
Yep. Yep. I'm not a musician, but I've heard that a lot from all the great players, and you're nailing it, and you're right there with them, right? So, so 38 records. This is a great album, by the way. I absolutely love it. What's your story behind it? What
this
got
is
this one
different.
rolling?
Okay, this is a very unique project in the sense that I've been doing this for a long time, but in the last couple of years, I rejoined forces with some people who I worked with in the beginning, being Michael Merritt on the bass, who's was my first bass player in the Popa Chubby band, but then left me to do the Conan O'Brien show for 25 years.
Wow.
So Mike and I reconnected at the Big Blues Bender a couple of years ago. And he was talking about moving back east. He was living in Vegas. And I met a guy named Mike DeMeo, keyboard player, played with Johnny Winter and Deep Purple and everybody, man. And he's a nutcase, but he's one of the best keyboard players I've ever heard. And we started playing, and it was just magic, man. And at the same time, I was on a different label who were like, we want to put out a best of your old catalog stuff. And I'm like, I already have 3 best ofs out, man. What do you want to do? Just take the same old stuff and rehash it again? I'm not interested. And then I started thinking, well, I'm at the point now where when I play, people want to hear certain songs from me. Like I'm obliged to play certain things, and fans are very verbal about requesting what they want to hear because I've written over 600 songs. So, sometimes the songs that people request again and again are not ones you think. So I thought, well, let's do this. I have another friend who was my protege back in the day in the recording world, who went on to become one of the biggest studio owners in New York and built an amazing facility. And my friend Glenn Forrest has a place called G Bluey's Juke Joint. So I said, Glenn, can we record at your place? He said, yeah, we could do a 5-camera video shoot and live in front of a select audience. So this is basically live in the studio in front of an invited audience of 50 people a night. It's a really unique situation. You know,
Mhm.
it's best. It's a live best of. That's all fan based. So
Cool.
and the band is on fire, man. I mean, just on fire. I'm very, very happy with it. I couldn't be happier. So,
Were there any surprises as you were putting this together, and maybe from the crowds, maybe something that you've done 1,000 times or more, and then when you were doing this, it's like, what the heck, man, this is different and it's great.
there's always surprises. It's always chaos. That's what makes it good.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if it's, I don't use a set list. I never
Really?
have and I never will, because I don't want to have an agenda when I go up there. You know, I do internal martial arts for 30 years. I do Tai Chi, Qigong,
Mm-hmm.
and Gung Fu. And my teacher always says, if you have an agenda, when you go up to the line, you're always going to lose. You got to go up empty. You got to be an empty vessel so you can be filled,
Mm-hmm.
because there is something magic and metaphysical that happens. If you're lucky, you transcend and you cease to exist. I'm getting more coffee. Wow.
She really
You must
must
really
love
love
you.
me.
Yeah.
um, it really is, can be, playing music can be a mystical experience. As players, what we're doing our whole lives is chasing a feeling.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, BB King said the blues ain't nothing but a feeling.
Yep. That's right.
Every night you get on that stage and you hope you can grab the tail of that dragon and have a little ride.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Interesting. So I'm going to jump ahead. Well, no, I'm going to stay on track here. I could chase rabbits all day long, and I don't want to.
That's all right.
There's things I definitely want to ask you. So before I chase my first rabbit, which song from this album would you point to as a calling card, saying, "Hey, fans, if you hear this one, you may have heard it a million times, but if you hear it this time, you're going to dig the rest of the album."
Well, there's not just one, because, like I said, there are key points in every Popa Chubby show. People want to hear me play, and mostly it's the covers that people want to hear. I mean, they want to hear my songs too.
Right.
Can't See the Light of Day is one that gets requested a lot, man. Motorcycle Mama, which was a Neil Young song that he
Right.
recorded with Nicolette Larson, which I've been doing for years. We've done a great version on it. I think it's the first single. Oh, my favorite on the record is a song called Another 10 Years Gone that I wrote many years ago. And I wrote it about the people who kind of enlightened me and influenced me in music. And then they all seem to pass in 10-year intervals, you know. And it starts talking about, I was 10 years old when Jimi Hendrix died. I was 20 years old when John Lennon died. I was 30 years old when Stevie Ray died. I was 40 years old when Willie Dixon died. You know, and but the blues keeps moving on. Another 10 years gone. And it's a great. I think it's great. You know, and it's really hard for me to say that about my own music, man. I don't have the biggest self-esteem when it comes to my own stuff, which I also think is healthy for
Mm-hmm.
an artist to doubt himself, his or herself. If you start thinking what you're doing is good all the time, you're putting out crap.
Yeah.
You got to reach for that ring. You know, you got to always reach for the brass ring, man, and hope you can grab it a little bit. So, I'm really happy about that one. And I mean, there's a lot of stuff that I haven't done in a long time. Like, you know, it's interesting because when I came out, I put out a record called Booty and the Beast that was produced by Tom Dowd. That was in 1995, and what, 35 years later, I still have fans who are centered on that record. So there's music from that record. There's a song I wrote called Sweat that's we brought back. We brought back a Tom Waits cover called Heart Attack and Vine that I haven't done in years.
Mm-hmm.
But people really want to hear this. And then I have kind of some Hallmark covers that I do. Hallelujah by Leonard Cohen,
Mm-hmm.
Sympathy for the Devil by the Stones. There's
My
that.
favorite, by the way, the way you do that and bring in, some Lou Reed and all that. I mean, just freaking genius. Just genius.
It's these are all the things that made me who I am, man.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
Well,
so I like to pay a little homage, if you will.
yep. Well, you and I are close to the same age. I think I might be a few months older than you, but so I'm not a musician. I don't I play a mean air guitar and that's about it. But but the influence is still. I mean, reading some of your bio and what who your influences were and are.
Sorry.
Those, just to be able to experience that kind of music as a fan is one thing, but for it to come through a musician like you who can be able to rechannel it, in different ways and it come out of your heart and through your fingers to play, that, I mean, it still comes, it makes those classics sound fresh and new, but also in writing your own music, it sounds both classic and new. How do you explain that?
If I took the time to explain it, I couldn't do it. I don't know, man. It's just, I'm just doing what's in front of me. That's the best way I could put it to you, man. I think a lot of it has to do with I have a very broad-based taste in music. I listen to everything, and I like everything. I like things the average blues man wouldn't like. I like standards. I like hip hop. I like jazz. I like, a lot of things out of the genre, and I think it all kind of wafts in to kind of make me a little bit more aware of what's around me. I think that's where you get your influences. You have to be open to what's around you, and not a lot of people write from here instead of here, like you look at a building and you just see a bunch of windows, and I see a story behind every window.
Yeah. Yeah. I see the architect too, who designed it and sat down and thought about all this stuff, so what do you feel like you have a muse that inspires you on the music, or what?
The muse.
Yeah.
The muse, she comes. She's a very
she brings you
whimsical
coffee, right?
very whimsical. She just brought me coffee. Well, Mary Beth's my muse a lot of the time. I've written many songs for her and about her. And yeah, I mean, the muse comes and spanks your ass if you're lucky. It's definitely a thing, man. It definitely is. And I think, again, you just got to be in a place as a writer, as an artist, as a human being. I'm best when I'm empty, when I don't have my mind made up about everything, when I'm not, you got to give it up in order to get it,
right. Do you go in the studio that way?
Well, my house is a studio. So I never go into the studio. I live in the studio. My life is reflective of who I am. It's not, music is not a separate thing from me. It's everything. So it's encompassing. And if I try and take a break from it, I pay dearly. So the muse is demanding. She wants a lot back. She's like the most high maintenance girlfriend you ever had. She's like, buy me these $5,000 shoes, daddy, now.
That's probably why I'm not a songwriter. So
there you go.
By the way, if your wife comes back by with another cup of coffee, have her stick her head in the screen and say hi. Give her 5 seconds.
She makes the best coffee. My wife is so cool. She bought a coffee machine for the bedroom.
Wow. Really?
So upon rising, she makes me coffee.
Very cool. Very nice.
Who's got it better than me?
So, state of the blues. What, you've been in the trenches. You're still in the trenches. You live the blues. When you look out over the genre and see what's going on, seeing a lot of great players, you're seeing some pass. We're losing some. You mentioned Johnny Winter earlier. I had the privilege of meeting him and
Oh,
interviewing him a
Johnny,
couple
man.
times. What a loss. And Paul's kind of standing the gap there since he passed. But how do you see blues today and some of the newer artists coming up? Are you encouraged? Are you concerned? What do you think about it?
Well, let's just start with Johnny Winter, man. That was the first concert I ever saw
Really?
in 1974 at the Felt Forum in New York City, which is the theater under Madison Square Garden.
Okay.
And I was the biggest fan. I got to play with Johnny at his 70th birthday at BB King's. I got to play Mojo with him. The blues is alive and well, man. There's a lot of guitar players out there, and they're all good because they all grew up with YouTube.
Yep.
This is a thing like guys like me and Mike and Albert didn't have growing up, man. We came up the old school way. Albert came up playing with Junior Wells, and Mike came up playing the clubs in the Midwest, and I came up in the trenches in New York, and so it's different, man. It's these people arrive on the scene as entities without paying their dues.
Mm-hmm.
Now I sound like an old man, don't I? These kids nowadays.
I'm older than you are,
man.
so.
There's a lot of great guitar players out there. The current trend in blues guitar has gone to shredding. There's a lot of notes being played, I'm trying to go in the other direction. Well, as you get older, you tend to play less notes. I mean, Jeff Beck did.
Mm-hmm.
He was still brilliant, but he didn't play fast anymore. Billy Gibbons, right?
Right.
It's like Miles Davis, man, says with one note, man. I mean, BB, come on, let's stop right there. BB had that one stinging note, and it was all good. Even my friend Joe Bonamassa has completely changed his style, man. Mm-hmm. He doesn't play fast anymore. He plays more soulfully in the pocket. Albert Castiglia is just a maniac. He plays the guitar like it's a chainsaw. Tell him I said that when you see him.
I will.
But I love Albert. Albert's the most honest guitar player in the scene, man. There's so many people out there. There's so many great women playing out there and making some noise. Sammy Fish, Anna Popovic, and it's the music business. So there's always going to be stuff that just exists for the sake of the business. There are people who know how to get to the top. I am really bad at I'm really good at music and really bad at the music business. I don't like it. I don't enjoy it. I can't function in a world of games and fallacies, and like in any business. And I don't mean to be disrespectful. I'm not putting anybody down, but that's what the music business is. It's a lot of it is putting forth an image in show business. I don't do that, man. I just go out there with my guitar and I play. And I think it's refreshing in some sense. I think what I do is unique, in the sense that the execution is unique, because there's nothing new in the world of the blues. I hear people doing stuff that I did 30 years ago. We're covering a song and acting like it's the newest thing in the world. I'm like, all right, now here's 15 versions of that are better than yours. So it's it is what it is. It's a big world, and thankfully there's a good audience, and there's some great young players coming out. One kid I really dig is King Solomon Hicks.
Oh yeah.
I just hung out with him at a festival in France, and I have to say I like him very much as a person and as a guitar player. And there's a lot of good stuff out there, man. There really is a lot of great people playing great music.
Back to Johnny Winter and Mike. That's how I was living in Dallas at the time at the Granada Theater, seeing Johnny Winter. I'd met him and Paul backstage. Comes out, and who opens for Johnny? Mike Zito. That's how I
Right.
first learned about Mike Zito and became an instant fan. And had the privilege of interviewing Mike like 3 times. And I mean, I just love Mike's work. And so that it's to me as a non-musician, but a blues fan, just loving seeing the tight community that's there. There's a healthy respect and encouragement.
Oh,
And
Mike was so reverential, and Mike and I actually hooked up again at Johnny's 70th birthday. I just came to hang out, and I was asked to play, and I didn't have a guitar, so I wound up playing Mike's guitar.
cool.
And again, Mike is just the coolest guy. I mean, I know he's just been through some horrible, horrible personal tragedy, but I know Mike. I know the kind of person he is. I know the kind of support he's got, and I know Mike will lick his wounds and take care of his family. And I know he'll be back on stage before you know it. Just sending out all my love to Mike and the Zito family and his daughters, and God rest Laura's soul. And it's just as a colleague and somebody also with a wife and a family, I can imagine the depth and the pain of his loss.
I can't either. It just soul crushing. And I would
Yeah.
imagine. 2 more questions for you. What's on your radar for the rest of the year?
Oof. Yeah, a lot of shows, man.
All right.
A lot of traveling.
Well, I hope
I'm a
you get
busy
into
boy,
each.
and I'm like I said, we're about the same age, man. This ain't getting no easier.
I
The
can
flights
imagine.
are harder than ever. But I have a lot of help. I have Mary Beth to make me coffee, and man, she takes care of me. I'm so lucky. And I got great people to play with, and BB King used to say, "You pay me to travel, you couldn't afford to pay me to play."
That's true. That is true.
It's the road goes on forever and the party never ends. There's a million songs written about the road. I actually, another way I hooked up with Zito is I wrote a song called "Rock On Blues Man," which was a song about the road that Mike guested on. He wrote a verse and played a guitar solo on it. So the song was about living on the road and what you sacrifice, man. Rock On Blues Man. Devil's calling and you can't get home. Sometimes you're out there and everything goes wrong and you think, man, I'm never going to get home again, man. And then you get home, it's like, I never want to leave again. And then it's time to go again, man.
Yep.
It's the life. It's the life we live, the life we choose. And I'm still grateful to be doing it.
Well, good deal.
And I'm going to get good on that guitar one day. I swear to God.
Keep practicing.
I am, man.
What and now that we finally got to meet and talk, I hope I get to interview you a lot more in the years to come. And so maybe every other time we talk, I'll ask you this question here, and that's this. When you step off the tour bus of life up at the Great Gig in the Sky to cop a line from Pink Floyd, how do you want to be remembered, and what do you hope your legacy is?
Wow. Legacy, huh?
I mean, 38 records.
I just want to leave the world. I want to leave this world a better place than I found it. I want to try it and live every minute of every day with compassion. I think that's the most important quality of humanity, man. I think, and I've said this many times, the human condition is difficult. We're born into a condition of questions, and we live our whole life trying without a manual. We're born without a manual, and it's our job to learn. Our parents teach us right from wrong, and then after that, it's up to us. As a human being, you're obliged to only do 2 things, and that is care and try.
Yep.
And if you do those 2 things, you're a good human being.
Yep.
And besides that, you're going to make your mistakes. You're going to lick your wounds. learning how to apologize is the most important thing in life, and learning how to say I was wrong. And if you can do that, you're going to grow and get better and become the person you were meant to be, man. And that's all I got.
Well, that's wonderful. Well, Papa, this is great. I'm glad we finally got to meet. I'm looking forward to talking to you again in the future. And if I'm going to keep an eye on your itinerary. If you get anywhere near East Tennessee, I'm coming to see you, man.
I'll get down there, man.
I'll crash backstage too. So,
all right, brother.
All right, man. Stay well. Get some
great
more
pleasure. Okay. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, sir. Talk to you.
Have a great day.
You too. Bye-bye.